Lee Camp.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's just a pity. It's been 7 days since I talked to you. I mean, that's honestly, it's been pretty draining to go that long.
It is draining to go that long without talking with each other.
I'm hoping that one of the main government secrets we get into today, maybe we can make a topic one, is the government's efforts to cover up the scourge of celebrity camel toe. They've really been working hard to cover that up, and luckily the Young Turks have been there to reveal celebrity camel toes. But
it's important. I mean, Young Turks is doing great work, and I love watching a channel with 3 million subscribers get like a third of Jimmy's live views, who's only got 800,000 subscribers. It's my favorite thing to see. Just like he's getting 10,000 people watching him live. They're streaming at the same time and they're getting 3,000 people.
Well, that's clearly because they cut celebrity camel toe. I mean, that's why people were tuning in. We all know it.
It's great stuff. I mean, they really got their fingers on the pulse of what's going on in independent media. How do you create this?
They got their fingers somewhere.
I don't know how you create this thing that we all went, man, Cenk is a genius. That was so awesome what he's doing. We all want to be a part of it. And then he goes, I'm going to nosedive the very thing I created and become the very thing I was yelling against.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bizarre, you know. It's I don't know. The ruling elite just chipped away at him till they. You know what it is? If you turn someone around and face them the other direction all at once, they go, "Whoa, what are you doing?" But if you slowly turn them around over like 5 years, you can get them to walk the opposite direction and they won't know it.
That's a great point. That's a great point. They just slowly get them to walk the opposite direction. They just put down some cones, say this area is under construction for a sec. We'll get you back on track. And then before you know it, you're walking in reverse and you have no idea. And literally you're putting your pants on backwards. So it makes sense to you that you're walking in reverse, but you don't know it.
I mean, but the thing that gets me is just the hypocrisy. I mean, I've seen Cenk have a vicious camel toe. So it's just hypocritical is all. That's all that bugs me.
When did they cover this whole, when was Camel Toe Gate? Camel Gate? Is this
have you not seen the videos that Jimmy's been posting? They used to have a segment called Celebrity Camel Toe or Spot the Celebrity Camel Toe that is like, it's before I was ever on. I never saw this, but someone went into the archives, which these were still up on YouTube, and it's him and Anna, so it's both of them, showing pictures of celebrity camel toe, and like the whole segment is like, can you tell which celebrity's camel toe this is? And it's the most cringeworthy thing I've ever seen in my life.
Like, here's the thing, like Cenk, in his own hubris, said, I'm going to call Jimmy unhinged and a grifter. And it's like, oh, buddy, you have opened up Pandora's box. You see all these old clips. I saw him another one talking about like somebody having sex with a horse or something. And I'm like, wow, who knew Cenk was actually a sex creep? Like he's a weirdo or something. Like he couldn't, I don't know what it is, but he brings up all this old creep footage of him saying all these weird, sexy, and like the fact that Anna, like that, the fact that she's going, oh yeah, let's look at who's camp. Like she's a woman is participating in this. It shows you that
the clip I saw like one clip and one clip that I didn't click on, and she's the one leading it. Like it looked like it was her segment.
Well, it's not. None of this surprises me because honestly, this is an Armenian woman that went on a network. I didn't even know what the Young Turks meant because the Armenian genocide has been so hidden from us.
Right.
And it was only a couple years ago that it was explained to me. Young Turks would be like a Jewish person going on the Gestapo network or something like that. And
yeah, and I knew the term, like the term the Young Turks, meaning like, oh, these brash young guys that kind of take over. So I knew that usage of it, but I also did not, really know.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was when I first heard of it. I thought it was just that, like, oh, those young upstart. That's what I thought a Young Turk was. Just like,
Right.
I didn't know the history was like, oh no, they're the ones that like led the genocide.
Right.
And unreal. Like this. So it's kind of like disappointing. Well, not disappointing is the greatest understatement in the world, but it feels like, oh, what's the word I want? I mean, I kind of feel like, me personally, so like TYT we were all bamboozled from the get-go. Like I just, I haven't been watching their stuff religiously for the last 10 years or however long they've been doing it. I just kind of, when I started paying more attention in 2016, and I was been longtime friends with Jimmy, and he was like, started doing his YouTube show, and he's like, hey man, you want to come on Aggressive Progressives? I was like, oh, this is awesome. The first time I went over them, like, this facility is amazing. Like, I want something like this.
And Aggressive Progressives was awesome.
Right.
So yeah.
It was a great show. And I was on it I was on it numerous times with Jimmy and Steve O, and Malcolm even. And I was like, this show is great. When the first show I ever did Aggressive Progressives on, Jimmy was talking to a Palestinian and a Jewish guy who were in Gaza saying it's wrong, what's happening. And I was like, no one else is doing this. And I was like, literally like, my comedy buddy Jimmy is really covering this like hard hitting news that nobody else is doing. I'm like, this is important work. And then to watch them, and they keep doubling down thinking everyone's going to back them, and they're not. I mean, that's what's just like,
it's bizarre. I mean, and I don't really understand it. I don't understand where they're coming from or what they hope to achieve, but.
And going after Aaron Matei?
Yeah.
Like, that is like, I mean, going after Aaron Matei. I mean, who are you going to go after next? Glenn Greenwald? Like, what are you going to like?
There's probably a clip of them going after Glenn Greenwald. that probably exists out there. I'm sure.
Is this Glenn Greenwald's camel toe? Yeah. Like, what's their?
Yeah.
Oh, probably. Wow. Well, welcome to Government Secrets, episode 45. Lee Carpet Crab Going over celebrity camel toes.
The reason the clips are so cringeworthy is because they kind of consider themselves a news channel. I think they have over the years. And so to see just like 10 straight minutes of like, we've spotted Kim Kardashian's camel toe is like the most, it's like, it's not even, I mean, you can make a joke. I'm sure there's a joke, like a punchline, not like a 5-minute bit, but like the end of a line probably of some part of my stand-up has probably mentioned a celebrity camel toe. But this is like showing images of a celebrity and being like, let's zoom in and show, graphic images of their crotch. And it's just like, are you trying to be Howard Stern or what is this?
Yeah, I know. I thought, oh, wow, that's cringeworthy for like late night talk show comedy. That'd be like, whoa, did you see what Fallon is doing? Like, really? Like, I would be like, that's crossing the line. But now a channel that calls themselves a news source, an independent news source, it's amazing to watch. I mean, it's like they're gonna be irrelevant, like, or they're just gonna have a bunch of Vote Any Blue Will Do people watching them thinking I'm getting the real news, just like Rachel Maddow or something. That's the audience they want to go after or something.
But if you want Rachel, I mean, we don't have to, we can go in this for an hour, but if you want to get Rachel Maddow viewers, be Rachel Maddow. Like, it's like, why wouldn't the viewers of Rachel Maddow just go to her for the fucking, fucking brain parasite bullshit? Like, no, I want a less produced YouTube version of the same shit I get on MSNBC any moment I turn it on. Any second I could turn on the TV and have a more highly produced version where they actually have on the politicians they're talking about. And instead, I'm going to go to YouTube, get all the same shit, but, lower level, and it doesn't make any sense to me. It honestly does. And here's the thing: is I don't watch them that much, so I wasn't sure exactly what they were doing. But I just looked at like the titles of all their videos, and it's 70 to this day. It's 70% about Trump. Like 70% of the stories uploaded there about Trump, and I'm like, he's not president anymore, and you can get that on MSNBC. So what are you doing?
Yeah, and it's like, that's the thing. Like, people will come to my show. Clearly, I'm way less produced than MSNBC, but they're like, well, at least he's telling us the truth. I'm giving you my honest opinion, and I'm covering stuff that either they're not covering, or I'm giving an angle that nobody else is covering. That's what you do on your show. But why would you come watch a guy sit in front of a fucking TV in his apartment, wearing a shirt he bought at Ross, telling you that everything's Russia's fault?
Hey, I got some fine shirts there.
So do I, but let's be honest. This is not, I mean, look at it. This is not MSNBC. This is a dad that's like having a barbecue. I mean, like, this is
next. What are you going to go after the dollar store? All right. I just got my water wings there for summer. Okay. I was getting prepared for summer. I just got them.
We're going to uncover the truth about water wings in this episode, and how the CIA has used them.
The nice thing is at the dollar store, the water wings, they come with a pack of Spree, and I don't know why. they're just saran wrapped together, but all that for $1, it's a good deal. I don't understand the connection, but it's a good deal.
Speaking of low production value, I can't get this dumb earpiece to work, so I've had to unplug it, and I'm listening to it on a speaker. I don't know what the fuck is wrong. This has been like a 2-week dilemma, and I'm sick of it.
2 weeks.
And it's like, when I'm just talking to someone like this, I can do it. But like, somebody said they think this is episode 45, not 46. So I said it wrong.
Jesus, not the episode issue again.
God damn it. We forgot to check.
I have this as 45.
Well, since Trump was our 45th president, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do a 45. No, all right. I'll edit the name right now. I'm sorry. God damn it.
See, we told you we weren't well produced. There you go, folks. We're proving ourselves. That's what we're doing.
This is what you get for coming to YouTube. But at least, all right, there we go.
All those highfalutin shows with their interns telling them what number episode it is. Look at us. We know what number it is. Bullshit.
Yeah, I have an assistant that I barely pay anything, and so they text me and go, "What time's the show today?" Normally they would be reminding me, but this is how we do it on YouTube. It's just like, hey, what time is this thing today? Right. I think I texted you this morning, was like, we're going at 6, right? Eastern? Is that when we're going to do it?
Yeah. I never know. Usually a couple hours before the show starts, I'll get a text from you saying, are we doing it today? Yeah, I think we are.
Literally, no joke. I got out of yoga class and you're like, hey, do you want to cover this topic? And I was like, oh, that sounds like a fantastic idea, man. That sounds fucking awesome. Oh, I'm totally into that. Yeah. Totally.
From what I gather, that's the second time you mentioned yoga. So about 75% of your day is yoga, and then half hour government secrets.
Yeah, maybe 15 minutes, and then the rest of the time is surfing. So, yeah, this show takes a lot of my emotional breath to do.
I know, but we're trying to get you through it.
It's like, man, if I wasn't funny, I'd be the worst guy to deal with. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only thing that's carried me throughout my whole life. Is like, just funny enough to not really get annoyed to hate him. Like, just like, all right, well, we'll let it go.
I don't think it's quite that bad. I think it's also the shirts with the pockets on the shoulders. There's many things that you bring to the table, Graham.
Another shirt purchased at Ross. I shop there almost exclusively.
Are they funding this show to the tune of tens of dollars?
There's, I mean, they're an indirect sponsor in that they just save my clothing budget by me buying $14 shirts that would normally cost $40. So that's how they help.
That's how they sponsor the show, giving you a discount. That reminds me of the Doug Stanhope joke where he was doing stand up, and afterwards someone asked him if the job has benefits, and he's like, "Yeah, there's benefits. After the show, sometimes a random girl will blow me, and I take the money I've saved and I pay for my own dental."
Oh God, that's fantastic. How is Doug Stanhope still alive?
I mean, has anyone talked to his liver recently? Because it's a miracle.
I mean, and I love Doug. He's great. And he's probably wakes up every morning going, really? I'm still all right. Wow. All right. I'm just, like,
it's quite possible. It's quite possible.
All right, buddy. Let's get into segment 1 of Government Secrets.
All right, we ended up with a kind of theme episode here, which is good. This is the 50th. This week is the 50th anniversary of the war on drugs.
Yes.
And, I mean, celebratory it's festive. I have party poppers, which I got at the dollar store. They came together with a bra. I don't know why, but it was just saran wrapped together. You get a discount. But I got party poppers for.
It's such a thing to celebrate because we could be celebrating, hey, 50 years ago, this government decided to end poverty and now it's gone. We've eradicated poverty in the United States. But instead, we declared war on drugs. It's really great. And
which is by definition a war on our own people. So we will get into the government secret origin of the war on drugs in a moment, I guess. And unless you wanted to do that first.
No, I think it ties in.
Okay. We'll save that for a surprise at the end, the secret origins of the war on drugs. But the war on drugs has been one of the main reasons, and Joe Biden factors into this as well, that we have the largest prison state in the world.
Yes!
We mentioned that before. You're so thrilled. This is the most excited I've seen you for a topic.
Well, because the thing where I go, oh God, this country's so awful. I'm just flipping a script on that. And I'm just going to be like, yes, every time when there's some like, we're the worst. We're number one in this horrible category. I'm going to just, I'm
not sure if that counts as better emotional stability, but it's something. It's something. It'll help.
It's just from a high blood pressure standpoint or something like that. Maybe it's just better in that sense, just from a stress level. So if I just give my body, it would do a lot of good if you flipped on CNN every day and you were just like, yes, that's so awesome. We're bombing who? I'm rock hard. This is just exciting. They're not covering this story again. Awesome. And then TYT is doing camel toes rather than talking about El Salvador adopting Bitcoin, which is revolutionary. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a great plan. So the world's largest prison state is what we have. And so I thought this would be a good time to go through 13 facts about our prison state that, the American prison system that are mind-blowing and that most people don't know. And I'm getting this from an article I wrote, which is not, it sources everything else. So it's that I'm not just getting it from me. It's not just, it's not a circle jerk here. This is, I got it, the facts from other people, but I put it together in an article. I did part of the work. So
I did part of the work. That's okay. I did part of the work. Okay. So I took a bunch of people's hard work and I just kind of painted it together and claimed it as my own. So I don't want to hear any nonsense.
Exactly. And everyone can see my grabbing of other people's work at SheerPost. I'll tweet that out after the show so you guys can go check it out. But so number one, let's get into these. Number one, America holds 22% of the world's prisoners, and we have 4% of the world's population. So 22% of the fucking world's prisoners, 2.3 million people out of a global total of 9 million prisoners. The U.S. is the largest prison state. I said that. So this gets interesting. I know it's a couple of numbers, but if you think about them, it's pretty incredible. We have 698 prisoners per 100,000 in America, per capita, per 100,000. According to a report published by Institute of Criminal Policy Research, the next closest country is, sorry, I know they're good on Bitcoin, but El Salvador at 572 per 100,000. Okay, so we're killing them. Even the next one, we're killing them. Go ahead.
Is it now because there's 590 per 100,000 people? Now, is this like, do we get to like, should we get Americans should get like a certificate in the mail saying this prisoner represents you or whatever? You're like, you know how you can buy a star in the galaxy and claim it as yours or whatever?
Adopt a prisoner. Yeah, we should have adopt a prisoner, and they have to wear your name around. It's like an ad. It's like a walking billboard.
Or like a sister city thing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, people might think more about prisoners if you had a sister or brother prisoner. It's true.
America is not a sick, twisted, demented place at all. It's not a horrific fucking death cult of a disaster at all. It's the best. This is I'm so proud we're number one in this category.
I'm just happy to see you happy, Graham. So 600, we're at 698 per 100,000. El Salvador is 572. Some other countries of note: Rwanda has 511 per 100,000. Russia has 331. So already Russia's half us per capita. China has 121 per 100,000. So far, far, far lower than us. And yet we're being told that we should put sanctions on China because they don't treat people right. Meanwhile, we have far more humans in cages.
I love the American hypocrisy. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like no country has the audacity to accuse a country of doing something that they're doing on a much less scale than America's do. Like, America is literally a guy that runs a meth lab, has face tattoos, and is a meth addict, and then tells the guy who's drinking a little too much, hey, man, you might want to go to AA. Like, that's who America is. It's just like selling poison. People are ODing and dying. We're destroying communities with our meth. We're like, hey, man, easy on the drinking.
Hey, you heard Biden's speech this week. Could you imagine if the United States intervened in other countries' elections? I mean, could you imagine the outcry if that were to happen?
It's, and they say this like with a straight face. Like, they have no, I mean, do they,
in his defense, Biden might be the first president where I'm okay with it. Cause I'm like, he may not know where he is, what country he's talking about. Like, with all the other presidents, the exception of maybe Reagan, it was like they were so blatantly lying to us. With Biden, I don't know that he knows anything.
And they're not even covering up his dementia the way they did with Reagan. They're just like, yeah, like they're literally having somebody hold up a puppet going, I'm the president. And we're all just buying it. And no one's, and if sometimes you bring up like, hey, Biden is showing cognitive decline, some dumb Gen Xer, that's my generation of vote any blue will do morons on Facebook will go, Graham, that's not fair. And what does that have to do with him? What does it have to do? The commander in chief doesn't know where he is, and he's demonstrating cognitive decline. So that means who is actually running the country, not someone that was elected. I don't know. So our whole democracy is a scam. Maybe is that a thing to bring up?
Yeah, no, they either act like you're involved in some kind of conspiracy theory, or that's ageism to discuss the fact that Biden doesn't know fucking where he is. Like, no, that's kind of important if he's going to lead things. But it goes to show the American president doesn't actually make most of these decisions. So he's just a showpiece in a lot of ways. So in that way, I guess it doesn't matter as much. So, all right. Number two, we have this belief or this idea in America, and this is how I grew up, thinking prisons are just a fact of life. They're everywhere, and it's just how things work. There are bad guys in this world, and they need to be in prisons, and so fact of life. But we already discussed that it's actually, there's far fewer people in them in other countries. But also, prisons are a relatively new thing in the scope of human history. Like, large prisons were not a thing in America or really anywhere in the world until the 1800s. The earliest penitentiary in America was Walnut Street Prison in Philadelphia, opened in 1773. Even in Europe, like, yes, they had a few dungeons. I'm not going to act like people weren't imprisoned, but it was a few people usually. There were no jails holding millions or even thousands of people. Prisons are like, they're kind of like, nuclear weapons or nipple clamps. Like, we've gone basically the entire human history without them, and now we can't imagine a minute without them. We just think all is lost if they aren't there.
I'm sorry. We're putting nipple clamps on the same page as nuclear weapons. I just want to, as a guy that's never used a nipple clamp, am I outside looking in on this? Is there like a whole nipple clamp community that I'm missing?
Graham, Graham, you're the exception, because since you have both nipples pierced, you don't need the clamps.
To just show you where I stand, just saying nipple pierce makes me like I could never pierce anything. Like, just hearing that makes me go, oh my God. Like, if a girl was,
I'm with you on that.
I had dated a girl who's like, oh, I used to have pierced nipples. I'd be like, I don't ever want to see it. I don't ever want to, I can't do it. So
you're keeping your shirt on from here on out. Yeah.
I really don't want to see that. And I don't, and even if I was dating a girl that's like, I've got a couple atomic warheads, I'd be like, oh my God, I don't want to see those at all. Like, we don't need those at all. And I'd still hold my boobs. Anyway, sorry, you were saying something.
Quite all right. Sorry to throw you off with nipple clamps. So I'll give you a warning next time. Trigger warning.
Absolutely, give me a nipple clamp trigger warning.
All right, number 3, prisons and, I know this is going to blow your mind, capitalism go hand in hand.
What?
Angela Davis makes the point in her book, Are Prisons Obsolete?, that the exponential growth of prisons correlated with the rise of industrial capitalism, which began around the 1830s. Once a person's worth was measured in their labor hours, taking that away from them could be viewed as punishment. Furthermore, even though prisoners became common during the 1800s and 1900s, America didn't become the world's largest prison state until the 1980s. Ronald Reagan and the racist drug war truly are gifts that keep on giving. They played a big role in that. But before the 19th century, there were other punishments for breaking the laws. And I'm not going to act like, whipping a guy is a great thing. But if a guy steals something and literally you were to give him an option between 10 years in prison or getting whipped, I think most of them are going to pick the whipping, because that's not going to destroy their lives. Whereas 10 years in prison, like, it fucking destroys everything about your life. And we have people in prison today in America for things like stealing candy bars. I mean, it does exist. So it's just insane. Go ahead.
Can we change the title of the show to Government Secrets, why capitalism is the root cause of everything horrible in this world? Like, it's really, I've said it for numerous times on my show. I'm sure you've said it on your show. I'm like, if we went to if everybody had free education, free college education, free healthcare, and everybody's basic needs were met, we had no homeless people. I always ask the question, how much crime would we have? Why would you need to steal if all of your basic needs were taken care of? Would there be some criminals? Sure. A handful of, yes, but we wouldn't need a multi-billion-dollar prison industry.
You'd have a tiny number of criminals compared to what we're facing. And of course, the thing, I'm not going to get into it in this episode, but is the way we view crime is the word crime. The idea of crime is set up to benefit the ruling elite. We don't really, when we say criminals, we don't talk much about Wall Street. We don't, and even when we say white collar crime, it's kind of like a side category. When in fact, if you look at like dollar amounts, white collar crime or the things that are legal that are clearly just exploiting and stealing from Americans is a billion times more than street crime. So the term crime, most people use it to be like a guy running up and punching you in the face and stealing your wallet. But that is a tiny, tiny percentage of actual crime. It's just, we're talking about it in a way that benefits the ruling elite.
Well, let's also talk about this. It's not just the white, again, that white collar crime sounds like, somebody stole a library book. It sounds like that. And why they're always given little slaps on the wrist and they go to white collar, day camp prison or whatever is, and not only do we not talk about the economic impact. Obviously, they've stolen millions, billions of dollars in some cases. They've actually, in many cases, hurt more people's lives than the one guy that punches the other person and steals their bag or whatever. Like, not that the guy that punches someone and steals their bag or wallet or purse shouldn't be punished to some degree, but he shouldn't do a life term and sentence. And that one event, it's awful for that one victim, of course. But I mean, look at what Wall Street did to the housing crash. I mean, 6 million foreclosures. That was 6 million families.
And the way I describe it, because to try and get people to understand this, is if you were to walk up and burn down someone's house, like that'd be a massive crime and you'd serve a lot of time likely. And what is the difference between that and a bank stealing your home when they can't even prove most of the time that they have the paperwork? And even if they can prove it, they got it through predatory lending, tricking people into taking out these loans. If you steal someone's house, what is the fucking difference to them and their family than to it being burned down? There is no difference. Yet one we're told to call violence and the other we're told to call business.
Hey, that's just good. Yeah. So the guy who burns the house down, what if we just flipped it? Well, hey man, it's just good business. You know what I mean? Like it's insane. And not to mention, I mean, we could go on and on about this, just the corporate crimes. I mean, look at the opioid epidemic. That was pushed by the pharmaceutical companies. Some of them have gotten fines. I mean, Purdue got a $500 million fine, which is literally like you and I getting fined $100. It's nothing. I mean,
Purdue is like going out of business or they were forced to sell it or whatever, but the Sacklers are still ridiculously wealthy and they won't serve a day in jail. So them losing their company, what does it matter?
What does it matter? And look at I'm literally millions of lives destroyed, not just from the actual opioid. And it's like somebody like gets in a car accident and they crash on their bike and they get addicted to opioids because the doctors were paid by companies like Purdue to push it. And
they were paid and they were lied to. They were told that most doctors were told these are not addictive at all.
Right. Yeah. The doctors were lied to. Some of the doctors were complicit, but most of the doctors were lied to. And then the person, I mean, is that HBO series, Mayor of Easttown. It's just sort of a subplot. And that like somebody gets, and you watch, there's documentaries about it. The person gets hooked on opioids. Oh, guess what happens? Then crime goes up. Their families, or they steal from their family, prostitution. Like there's these 23-year-old girls that got hooked on opioids. And now they're on these online apps or whatever, prostituting themselves. They've destroyed families' lives, children's lives. I mean, they've ruined. Not only have they directly killed the people that have OD'd, but all of the chaos. When someone becomes a serious drug addict, there is a fucking tsunami of chaos around anyone near them. And the Sackler family, they should be doing life in prison. I mean, they should be in prison for life and all of their assets seized and given to all the families who were negatively impacted by the opioid epidemic. But one guy, smokes a plant and he's in jail because he's black for 15, 20 years or whatever. Yeah. I'm back to fuck this country. I can't even do the cheer bit.
You lasted 20 minutes. You lasted 20 minutes on the rah, rah, rah America boat. But,
and then it got
all right.
Anyway.
No, and don't worry, these get shorter as they go on, so we'll be all right. Number 4, prisons are really like slavery 2.0. Not just because of the racist implications, but like most of us can't imagine a society without human cages. We just think that has to be. But there have been other institutions in America's past that seemed crucial, and not no one, but most people could not imagine a world without them. One of those, obviously, being slavery. And it turned out, wait for it, we could have a world without slavery. Another good example is chamber pots. You know, it turns out that shitting in a soup bowl next to your bed was not the best way to do it. But there are these, like, we all think we cannot progress past a certain point until we do.
Shitting in a soup bowl next to your bed. I hope that's the name of your next album. And no, it is true. You make a great point, because like there was, you know, like we couldn't live in a world without the Pony Express. This doesn't make sense. What do you mean? Like we couldn't, a horseless carriage. That sounds insane. Like on and on and on and on and on. We could say this. We like, again, owning slaves was just, oh, everybody does that. That's just the thing that happens. Up, they were slaves, you know.
Yeah.
Too bad. Guess they got dealt a bad hand. And now it's like, it's preposterous to think of that.
And so here's another way, number 5 on the list, that the prisons are slavery 2.0. The 13th Amendment to the Constitution ended slavery and also legalized it. The 13th Amendment has a massive loophole that reads, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States. And that exception has impacted millions upon millions of lives. And Angela Davis wrote in her book, Southern states hasten to develop, this is after slavery ended, Southern states hasten to develop a criminal justice system that could legally restrict the possibilities of freedom for newly released slaves. Black people became the prime targets of a developing convict lease system referred to by many as the reincarnation of slavery. Authorities often declared unlawful anyone who was guilty of theft, had run away from a job, apparently, was drunk, was wanton in conduct or speech, had neglected a job, family, or handled money carelessly, and all other idle and disorderly persons. So basically, black folks, right after slavery, found themselves imprisoned for behaviors that usually aren't illegal and that white people obviously partake in all the time. You know, I mean, most of my friends are regularly idle. It's like their defining characteristic. And, you know, how many white people are careless with money? So they would be grabbed up off the streets, black people, for these nothing crimes, non-crimes. And then they get put into the convict lease system, which many have described as worse than slavery because the owners that would use them for labor didn't even care whether the people lived or not because they just get a new one. Whereas with slavery, they viewed it as their property, so they didn't want to kill them. But with convict lease, it was even more horrific.
America, it's racism. It's systemic racism is the thing that is holding this country back. With no two ways about it. If we could get over that, and mainly all these white people that are always afraid and crazy and, oh, they got, you know, there's white genocide happening, whatever their crazy crap is. If they could learn to coexist, America could be this amazing place. But it doesn't want to be. It wants to stay, and it holds itself. It's that famous quote, I think by Langston Hughes, you can't hold a man down without staying down there yourself. And that's what America's doing. When you hold groups of people down, you stay down there yourself. It's like, you think, I'm holding this guy down. You're stuck down there too. You're not going anywhere fun. It's like a prison guard. You show your paint, you're going, that's you. These prisoners can't leave. You can, and you're choosing to, you want to work in a prison every day. Right.
And the PTSD of being around such abuse all the time, even if you weren't partaking in it, obviously most of them do partake in it, but it you know, destroys you as a human.
Yeah, you watch all this abuse, and so either you become numb to it if you're not partaking in it, or you partake in it, and then you basically just corrode your own soul.
You become the monster you're supposedly imprisoning.
Yeah, I don't want to create these monsters. How are you any different? Like, how are you any different?
Right.
And no one sees that.
So the next one is, and we've mentioned this some on the show before, that prison labor continues today. Sometimes it's like sewing "Made in America" labels on clothing that wasn't made in America. The firefighters, like half of the firefighters in California are prison laborers making, $1 an hour or something. And then when they get out of there, they're not even allowed to be firefighters. State officials generally claim such programs are different from the convict lease program. And they claim it's different in the same way like people claim firecracker pops and bomb pops are different. They're the same fucking thing. All right. I know sugar water and Red 40 when I taste it. All right. There's really no difference. These people, and they claim, it's a choice to work in prison. It's like, no, it's really not. They've got immense force on them, like whether it's getting out of prison, because those firefighters get to be outside. So, wow, that's a great benefit. Either I get to be abused in a cell or I get to be outside. Yeah, I'm going to choose outside. That's not real choice. They're running from violence. That's not a real choice. And then to earn the money, so many of them are doing this because literally $1 an hour or less is useful because they're charged for all kinds of things while they're in prison, like a toothbrush and all that shit. So, and phone calls can often be really expensive, or FaceTime calls and shit like that. So, yeah, it's economic force just like anything else.
Well, and let's also point out, because what happened last fall in California had another record-breaking wildfire season. They're on pace. It's going to happen again. California is under immense drought. It's normally this time of year, there's been at least 15 inches of rainfall. Typically, there's only been about 5. This is just in LA County. So we're going into the summer when it never rains. It never rains in Southern California in the summer. So come fall, we're going to have more fires. And what happened last fall, thanks to, people like Kamala Harris, there was a shortage of firefighters, and all of these released prisoners who worked putting out fires could not get hired. So they served their time. Yeah. They got out on good behavior. Part of their good behavior was they were firefighters, and now they can't even get hired. So we had a shortage of firefighters to put out these awful fires that destroy people's lives and homes and all that. And guess what? It's the middle of June. And there's already some fires that have started. It's going to happen in another 2-3 months of drought.
Yep.
This is going to happen again. And there's going to be a shortage of firefighters because California, democratically controlled state, does this slave labor. And then if you pay your debt to society, you go to prison and you work as a firefighter, you're out on good behavior, you've paid your debt to society. And isn't it better for our society to say, hey, you paid your debt. Now you can get a job with the fire department. Yep. But now ex-cons can't get jobs, so it's recidivism. They go back into the criminal life.
Right.
What else
and that's just one example. Most people that go into prison have trouble finding a job when they get out, because so many places, either they have, they're out of the workforce, so they don't have the skills, or maybe don't have a resume, maybe don't have a suit. Like, all those things matter. And then there's also some states you're allowed to find out if they're a convict or, an ex-con. And so they use that against them. It's just incredibly difficult to get your life back together after you get out of prison. So you end up back in prison. I mean, yeah. And I think this is important about the courts. Angela Davis also wrote that the false crimes, arresting people for nothing crimes, also served as a subterfuge for political revenge. After emancipation, the courtroom became an ideal place to exact racial retribution. In this sense, the work of the criminal justice system was intimately related to the extra-legal work of lynching. So really, the courts became like the more polite, more erudite way of lynching people, of destroying people's lives. Going on to number 7 is that a few people get filthy rich off of imprisoning millions of people.
It wasn't egalitarian. They're not sharing the wealth. I find that hard to believe.
Companies collect billions of dollars from the prison industrial complex. Some of these are private prisons, and many states have contracts where they have to keep the private prisons filled. They must find prisoners or they're breaching the contract. But much of the money made in prisons is not for private prisons. It's for all prisons. You know, the corporations that do the food service, the corporations that do the clothing, all that shit. I covered one which was an incredibly, exploitative fraudster that I think it was called JPay, which was the main way that prisoners are able to call people using that service or whatever. And, it's like they're paying, if someone transfers money to them, they're like 30% of it goes to some company to allow a family member to transfer money to them. Like, it's just phenomenally exploitative. Oh.
They literally went, how can we stick it to these people every single way? Like north, south, east, west. How can we stick it to them? Charge them for this, make them earn slave wages, then take a fee if the money's like just, and obviously when you have for-profit prisons, that means you need to create criminals to put in your prisons.
Yeah. You have to, and if you're running low, so you have a deal to have the prison 90% full, and it's only 90% full, and you're going to release people soon. What do? You tell your cops to get out there and find people, which is a lot of what policing is now in America. It is go out and meet your quota of people being arrested. And if the cops go out there and don't find people to arrest, meaning insert themselves in people's lives and try and find what they call crimes, then that cop will be viewed as not doing their job. Why? You didn't arrest anybody in the last 3 days. What the fuck you been up to? And it's like, well, maybe there was no one to arrest. Maybe every person I saw was just walking down the streets, but that's not acceptable.
Yeah, that's another thing when there's like, oh, there's no systemic racism in our legal system. Yeah, there is. Quotas. Just that alone is a problem. And all police departments have. And God, in Chicago, man, it was like the end of the month. Don't go a mile over the speed limit because if these cops are behind on their quotas, they're going to write up as many violation tickets as they can possibly find. It would happen.
Right.
You'd be going 37 and a 35 and they'd pull you over and you'd be like, you got to be kidding me. Well, it's the 28th. Yeah, that's why you got that.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. It's a standard thing.
All right, man. I'm realizing that I probably have about over a third of this left. So we'd either have to bump the next one the next time, or we can make this a two-parter and skip to the drug war.
Why don't we keep this going, and then next one we'll talk drug war.
Okay. Fine by me. So number 8, Black Americans are the most imprisoned people in the world. Now, I know that people understand that we have a racist, prison here. You have more percentage-wise, far more Black people for the percentage of the population they are. But it's more than that if you compare it per 100,000. Like, it's the understanding of like per capita really kind of hits you in a different way. So earlier I said the U.S. has 698 prisoners per 100,000. China has 121. If prison rates of African Americans were listed in the same way, they would have an incarceration rate of 1,500 per 100,000, down from 2,300 just a decade ago. So pause for a minute and try to wrap your brain around that number. Black Americans have a rate of imprisonment that is over 12 times that of China. 1 in 3 Black men between 20 and 29 are in some way right now subjected to our prison system, meaning they're either in prison, they're on parole, they're somehow connected to the prison system. 1 in 3 Black men between 20 and 29. If prison rates of African Americans were listed alongside countries, they would have the highest rate in the world.
But there's no systemic racism. It's just a few bad apples, right? That's what we're supposed to believe.
The number of bad apples is astronomical. It is just incredible number of bad apples.
This is like, these numbers are overwhelming. And thanks to people like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they've helped make it happen.
Right. I mean, yeah, Kamala Harris, in her role as California's top cop, as she called herself, She wanted to arrest people for even less. She arrested people for their children being truant, meaning not showing up to school. So you have a fucking single mother who's trying desperately to deal with life and pay her bills, and the kid is skipping out on school, and now you got the parent in prison, the mother in prison. Like, what does that help? What is that? Does the kid end up better off? Does that mother, when she comes out of prison, end up better off?
It's just such, it's the level. I always want to quote Martin Sheen's character in Apocalypse Now. He's like, oh man, the bullshit stacked up so high, you need wings to fly above it. Like it's staggering.
Yeah. And the percentages are, so right now our prison state is 21% Hispanic, 38% blacks are in prison in America. The American population is 18% Hispanic and 13% black. So that's how much higher the prison rate is. But if you add in other non-white races, our prisons are filled with 65% people of color, which is pretty fucking crazy. So number 9 on the list, police departments have admitted to targeting people of color. Some people think, oh, it's just, theory, it's just conspiracy. But no, there's been times where they've been forced to admit it. One of the most obvious ones was New York's stop and frisk program, which, abducted young, mainly men of color who were doing nothing wrong, sometimes standing. I mean, there's examples detailed in Matt Taibbi's book of just people standing in front of their own apartment and being arrested for that. And they basically, the new NYPD would just grab people and frisk them and try and find a reason to arrest them. So like the polite liberal way of viewing this is like, well, the cops were like, let's arrest this guy for having an open beer. And, oh, he happens to be black. But that's not the truth. The truth is, let's arrest this guy for being black. Oh, he happens to have a beer with him. How convenient for us. It makes the paperwork easier.
Right.
New York City is 43% white, but only 7% of arrests for open alcoholic beverages are for white people. Because these are the type of crimes that are only used to grab people of color.
Yep. Oh yeah. They're never going to, if a bunch of white people hanging out in Central Park drinking wine, they're not going to arrest them, even though that's a violation according to their law. Like they would never, ever, ever do that. And that's, again, more evidence that we have a clear systemic racism, and it's been going on for decades, really centuries, if you want to.
Well, it's well known, Graham, that like a beer in a bag is just far more criminal than like a white wine spritzer. Okay.
Yes. Some white lady with purple teeth singing too loudly and being annoying because she won't shut up. That's actually worse, in my opinion. That's more of a violence threat to society than a guy drinking a 40 out of a bag or just a can of beer.
Because she's singing John Denver. I mean, that's rough.
And she keeps going, "Someone dance with me." Like, oh God. Like, can we lock them up? Like, I'm okay with that. If they just started locking up just like liberal wine moms, I'd be okay with that. Just put them up. They're a skirt. They're like gangs.
Listen, lady, you saw the sign when you walked into the park. There is no singing off key while dancing in a jerky manner. That is you spilling your wine. This is a clear violation.
This is a violation, ma'am. And constantly telling people to dance with you and take selfies is that's bad for society. So you're a threat to the decent human beings that are in this city, and we're going to lock you up.
Speaking of selfies, I don't know if you're with me on this. I just thought of a great idea for merch. Maybe you and I can sell this on the Government Secrets website that is heavily trafficked. It is, the giant like metal cutters that guys use to steal bikes, like you cut the U-locks. I want to sell those to cut selfie sticks.
Just sorry, click.
Yeah, like while they're mid selfie, you just slice that in two.
Just walk up. Nope. Hey, sorry. Click. We don't. Those are outlawed. Click.
And then with the government secrets logo on the side, they could just yell "government secrets, bitch" and run off. Yeah.
Pew pew. Just fucking slice it. There you go. Well, everyone should be saying "government secrets, bitch" like on a daily basis. That I want to happen.
Yeah, I want to make that like the new YOLO. Yeah, just government secrets, bitch. Like people bungee jumping, like right as they jump off.
Well, I want that on the Loch Ness Monster mayor of Atlantis re-election campaign. Should be government secrets, bitch.
Oh man, we definitely need a T-shirt with the Loch Ness Monster running for mayor. That is
Mayor of Atlantis.
Mayor of Atlantis. Yeah, that's all right. Number 10.
Number 10.
Prisons are not about rehabilitation. The goal of American prisons is no longer, if it ever was, about rehabilitation. Now their only goal is incapacitation. Many prisons have little to no education programs, very few books, internet access is often rare or expensive. Current inmate and longtime political prisoner Mumia Abu-Jamal said, and we should do a whole episode on him probably, said, quote, "What societal interest is served by prisoners who remain illiterate? What social benefit is there in ignorance? How are people corrected while imprisoned if their education is outlawed? Who profits, other than the prison establishment itself, from stupid prisoners?" And it's true.
I know. And then there's always those conservatives that go, "Oh, we should just give them, color TVs and let them sleep in water beds." Like, the thing they don't understand, if you're not getting rehabilitated, those people eventually get released and they're back into society. So if the goal is to keep our society safe, giving people education and job training in prison will prevent them from being repeat offenders.
Right.
If you just stick them in a jail, and basically what it is now is it's criminal college. They go to jail and learn more crimes because they're hanging out with criminals and there's nothing to do. And they have to do crimes in jail to survive. And then they get out and guess what? They do more crimes. So it's like, if you give people opportunities and a chance, most people are like, I don't want to be a criminal. I don't want to go through this hell. I'd rather have a nice, easy life. But we give them very little options and then create all these laws, as you've laid out, to incarcerate people for nonsense, especially if they're people of color. And the prison industry profits from it. So they need these criminals. And then it just gets worse and worse. And then we're sitting there, we're shell shocked that our society is collapsing. Like, gee, how did this happen? I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. I just, I built the foundation of my house out of silly putty and cotton candy, and now it's collapsing. How could this happen?
Yeah, it's they do not want to improve prisoners' lives so that when they get out, they can get things back on track.
The goddamn ruling elites, they don't want to improve anybody's society. They don't want to. Our society is not progressing to get better and better and better as I thought we were. We're not. The only people's lives are getting better and better are these soulless fucks that are going to pay Jeff Bezos $23 million to fly around in his goddamn pimp wagon space outfit, like his spaceship. Like, these people are the worst. The planet's collapsing. The countries are collapsing. And rather than spend their money to fix it, they're going to fly around a bunch of rich assholes who are too greedy and selfish to do anything about it. And they're the worst. I mean, these are awful, awful people. Like, they're horrible people. Don't revere any of Bezos or Elon Musk because they make cool technology that you like or use. They're awful, awful people.
Yeah, they're at minimum sociopaths. I mean, you don't get to that position if you're not a sociopath.
Yeah. Yeah. And we should do like a sociopath test for people. And if
Oh
they
my God,
pass it,
I've been a proponent of that for a long time. I've said every politician absolutely sociopath test, without a doubt. And you could make a good one. You could make a pretty good one.
and if they pass it, we got a special camp for you. And there you go. We just like
you mean if they don't pass it? Which one means you're a sociopath?
If they don't pass it, then we teach you how to be a better sociopath. That's what I'm talking about. Sociopath training.
Gotcha.
No, we should just like take the Hamptons and make it like Escape from New York, and just they build a wall around the Hamptons and never let them leave, and they just got to fend for themselves on Sociopath Island.
Yeah. We just see how long until the millionaires start eating themselves.
Yeah, let them eat themselves. And anyone that, so, oh, Hunter Biden, you passed the sociopath test. We got a new spot for you in the Hamptons. And we just rope that part of the island off, and they never get off of it. And it's great.
So, number 11, and this one is, rough to think about, but while the Me Too movement has swept across the country, the prison industrial complex not only tolerates sexual assault, which obviously is rampant, but it also perpetrates it. Female inmates almost always find themselves the victims of strip searches by the guards, and often internal searches, which means exactly what you think it means. Here's another way to phrase this: state-sanctioned sexual assault. And it's used in much the same way that sexual assault has been used over the years, to make people feel humiliated and to make them feel powerless. So, it really is no different. I mean, if these guards did to these women what they do as a supposed routine search, if they did that and they didn't have a uniform on, they'd be serving jail time. I mean,
right.
It's so in that way, it is absolutely just state-sanctioned sexual assault.
Yeah, and always these female prisoners, they're always getting pregnant in prison, and we just like don't know how it's all immaculate conception. We have no idea how it happened. Like, it's yeah. Again, what type of a person wants to have a job as a prison guard? Like, who picks that job?
Some people. Graham, I mean, I guess as with police, but I think even more so with prison guards, some people pick it because they literally live in areas where they don't know how to get a job. Like it's economic force again. I mean, it's kind of like people signing up for the military. It's like, why you know that some people know that our wars are not great, and they still sign up for the military because they're like, oh, I can afford college. All right.
No, that's true. I mean, I definitely know that that's a fact. Is there are prisons out there, and it's like that there, and they pay decent money, $25-$30 an hour, or $12 an hour at the Walmart, or $10 an hour at the McDonald's, and those are the choices. Or deal opioids, be a drug dealer, and so it's like, well, like the private prison pays better, and it's good benefits and stuff like that. So I'm sure there's plenty of people who just like that's the only job they could get, and I totally get that. But then there's also people who are like, no, I can take advantage of people if I get this job. It definitely is going to attract some of that. Just so,
very similar to a lot of cops. It's like, oh, it pays all right, and I get to have authority. I've never had authority in my life. I'm often, they're losers in one way or another, and they realize this puts me above other people, and so. It's a job where you get to have that power over other humans. Yep. All right. So two more left. Number 12. Prisoners have long been used for medical research, and it's not over. As Laura Appelman of Willamette University wrote, the standard narrative of human medical experimentation ends abruptly in the 1970s with the uncovering of the Tuskegee syphilis study. But my research shows, however, that this narrative is incorrect and incomplete. The practice of experimenting on captive and vulnerable people persists. So, yeah, the United States still has human guinea pigs.
Didn't the Nazis do this kind of shit?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And then, as we discussed on a previous episode, after World War II, we brought them over here to do it for us. So.
Yes, Operation Paperclip. Right on, baby.
Callback. Is it called a callback when you when it has to do with experimenting on humans?
Government secrets callback. Operation Paperclip plants the seeds for prisoner testing and abuse in our modern society. America getting worse.
All right, and last up, number 13, the mainstream media gets in on the action too. Corporate media perpetuates the idea that crime is always raging out of control, which then creates a fervor for harsher sentences among both the population and lawmakers. Angela Davis writes, even during years when homicide rates were cut in half, stories about homicides multiplied exponentially. So our media doesn't just manufacture consent for war, they manufacture consent for our catastrophic prison state. So, I mean, that's the thing is we talk about manufacturing consent a lot, and it is done by our media, our mainstream media. But usually we're talking about the endless wars. But the truth is, you wouldn't have America being the largest prison state in the world without our media telling us there's crime over around every corner, and we have to lock everyone up.
Well, and it's not just the news media. I mean, you look at movies, TV shows. I mean, now the streaming services, like, oh, these criminals are running rampant, and someone's got to take out the trash, like keeping everybody. Because when you get people afraid, they will sign off on a lot of awful shit to make themselves feel safe again, and they will do whatever they got to do to feel safe. It's like the Second Amendment. Like, well, I need a gun. There's all these criminals. It's like the crime is way down and you need that sense of security. Great. Now there's more random shootings. And the other thing too, not only is it just entertainment that stirs up the, fear, and there's crime everywhere, and we need more prisons, and we need politicians that are tough on crime. There's also a story I did a year or so ago on my political vigilante. This record executive who remained anonymous said in the late 80s, the private prison got together a bunch of record executives and said, we really want to push gangster rap because gangster rap will actually help perpetuate violence in mainly the Black community, to glorify it, to make it seem cool. Because just like the gangster movies of the 20s and 30s made gangsters seem cool and tough, and we've always glamorized gangsters in this country, be they Italian, Irish, Black, Latino, whatever. We've always glamorized them. And so
are you saying average white guys can't be gangsters? Are you saying Jews can't be gangsters, Graham? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because then that's part of it too. That's like, you're tough if you're a gangster. So then there's this, to be a real man, I got to be a tough guy gangster. So there's plenty of white guy gangsters, and they've done Mickey Cohen and all that stuff to say, hey, every group has its tough guys, and so we're going to revere these tough guy groups. But specifically, the private prison industry set this up with a bunch of record executives to push gangster rap. So they created. That's why, like, you look at somebody like Public Enemy that came out in the mid to late 80s, had a lot of social commentary, and then late 80s to the 90s, the gangster rap went through the roof. And it was because the record industry made sure it got very popular and very profitable to glamorize, not to mention then the CIA dumping crack cocaine into the Black neighborhoods. So you had this whole we're going to create more criminals. We're going to glamorize it in the media. We're going to let the news keep you terrified morning, noon, and night that there's criminal gangs.
And gangster rap served to terrify white America.
Yes.
That every Black guy must have tons of guns and be firing just into the streets.
It helped feed that of like, Black men are criminals. Black men are scary. So call the cops. It's okay when the cops use excessive force. It's okay when they get harsher sentences. And the media has been very complicit in the white teenager that committed the crime. Boys will be boys. Slap on the wrist. Don't throw the book at them. The Black teenager, oh, he's already a criminal. He's going to be
Right.
the worst criminal. We better lock him up now. And this, so you see how complicit all, again,
As Hillary Clinton said, super predators, you know,
super predators. Hillary Clinton said that, super predators. And the same way Kamala Harris has this famous speech from a couple of years ago that I've played on my show numerous times, where she goes, people come out with these little signs that say more schools, less prisons, more schools. And she's mocking people for that.
Yeah.
And then says, well, if there's one little problem I have here, why do I have to have all of these locks on my door? Because we don't have enough schools, jackass, you fucking parasite. So she pushes that crap too, but because she's a woman of color, people in her own community and others and women and liberals are going to be like, yay, diversity. And they're backing a woman who is just as awful and perpetuating all of these. She's put more black people behind bars than, I mean, just about anybody.
Yeah.
And so it perpetuates the whole thing. And she gets paid from the private prison industry to push this whole thing. So it's, you see the conspiracy, not even the conspiracy isn't the world. You see the coordination.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a conspiracy is the theory. This is a coordinated event.
But I've seen the cop shows and the cops are very good. Okay. They always get the bad guy every single time. You know, they find the bite marks on the corner of the couch and then they put it in the computer and it goes boop, 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 boop. And it finds the guy who bit the couch. So,
yep, that's it. CSI, NCIS, you know, all of those. The cops are the good guys. Maybe one bad apple, they root them out.
And by the way, just to go back to the, making everyone think that there's a million murders going on. So we need more cops. We need more prisons. We need to arrest people. We need to put them, lock people up longer. The vast majority of murders in America that aren't done by cops are people that the victim knew, someone the victim knew, like a friend, family member. So if you want to be scared of murders, then start eyeing your friends. All right. start staring a little longer at your nephew. Okay.
Don't ever get married because your spouse is probably going to murder you. So that's yeah.
And there was some Dateline podcast that I listened to some episodes of, all about, it was just about murders and about suspicious murders and things like that. Every single episode, the husband or the boyfriend did it. Never an exception. It was always the husband or the boyfriend. Every fucking time.
Everyone. And they're always like, their wife was going to find out about their affair. Just get a divorce.
Yeah,
don't
kill
you
her.
gotta murder everybody. What the fuck?
God, could you just ruin her life? Don't kill her. Jesus.
Don't kill anybody.
Yeah.
Just say,
easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
I don't like you anymore. I'm dating a younger woman. Bye. Like that. That's pretty awful.
Smoke a joint and sit back. You don't need to chop her up and drop her off your fishing boat in the middle of the night.
And why do you have a fishing boat?
All right. So I'll just conclude with one final quote from Angela Davis. The prison functions ideologically as an abstract site into which undesirables are deposited. This is the ideological work that the prison performs. It relieves us of the responsibility of seriously engaging with the problems of our society, especially those produced by racism and increasingly global capitalism. That is what our prison does.
Yep. Follow the money, connect the dots. It's always the money will show you what it's all about. It's all about money and power. And, I mean, that's at the core of a lot of racism is it's like, oh, we need power, or we don't want these people to have power or whatever, because we're afraid. The powerful are the most scared bunch of little babies. They're afraid everyone's going to take all their little money and their special.
They're afraid of YouTube shows, Look at how much they're suppressing us and demonetizing us.
I know. My subscriber base has gone down 78 to 77,000 now. Like it's gone down. I'm in my 5th month of being demonetized. They throttle you. They throttle me. They're scared of us. They're scared of us.
I know I've told you that I'm like shadow banned on Facebook, but I don't know if some of the details are pretty, speaking of losing subscribers, some of the details are pretty funny. So basically after the last 2016 election, they froze my Facebook account that was at 635,000 followers. And it would only go down. Even though it would tell me I gained so many followers this day or that day, it would only go down. And so it's trickled down for the past several years. And it was like at 329 or something. And one post I put up about how awful Jeff Bezos is just went crazy viral. Somehow it got past the algorithm. It got 80,000 shares, seen by millions. And my followers went up so fast that whatever thing they had locked on me couldn't stop it. So I ended up gaining back everything I'd lost over the past like 4 years. And then they tanked it again like over the following weeks. Like, so basically the amount it'd taken me 5 years to lose, I lost in like 2 weeks. It was like I got through the algorithm and then some human was like, wait a second here.
Unreal, man. It's really makes me, I'm half tempted to just shut down my Facebook and my Instagram just to shut it down and go like start using TikTok and still use Twitter until Susie Dawson finishes Panquake and then just be on those. That's what I feel like. But, so is that it, or is there more? That's it for all of our horrible prison system?
Well, those are the ones I got. That's the 13 facts about prison, mind-blowing facts about prison. If people want the article, like you want to share it with someone or something, I just tweeted it out. So it's at the top of @LeeCamp is my Twitter. And also, just a quick pitch for us here. We don't ask for money. You don't have ads on here. There's no, I don't stop and sell you a mattress or anything. So how about this? Everybody who's watching, listening, anything, take 3 seconds and email Government Secrets to someone, to a friend, a family member, tell them to check it out. That's it.
We keep the show completely free. On all platforms, mine, Lee's, it's free. It's never behind a pay. You can watch it whenever. Yeah. So just email it to a friend, put it on your social media, like it on whatever you're listening or watching, and, give it a positive review if it's like iTunes or whatever, and send it out to people. Spread the word on it, because nobody's doing a show like this.
And just buy our selfie stick cutter. Just buy that and we'll be doing pretty well.
And start saying Government Secrets, bitch, throughout your day. Like anytime you point out a fact of how awful America is and has been, just say Government Secrets, bitch, and walk out of the room.
Yeah, that's key. You got to leave afterwards. That's key.
You got to exit. You got to stage left it, baby. You got to just so yeah, that's our show. That's Government Secrets episode formerly 46, renumbered to 45.
And next week we hyped it up top. Next week we promised to give you the secret origins of the drug war.
Oh, yes. We're going to celebrate. We're going to have a big 50-year anniversary of the drug war celebration next week. It's going to be great. We're going to get dressed up. Yep. I'm going to have a shirt with a little pocket on it.
From Rock.
It's going to be... Lee's going to shit into a bowl of soup by his bed. You know what I mean? It's going to be...
It wasn't a bowl of soup. It was a soup bowl. There's a difference.
Okay.
There's a big difference.
And hopefully we're going to get the Loch Ness Monster on to give us their campaign tips for being the mayor of Atlantis. It's going to be...
Yep. It's going to be a big one. It's going to be a big one.
John Tesh is going to sing a song about unsweetened cashew milk. It's going to be all of our hits.
We're going to play the hits. Play the hits.
All right, dude. Well, where can people follow your business?
All right. All my stuff's at LeeCamp.com. New episode of Redacted tonight just came out, and that will be up at LeeCamp.com soon if it's not already. And so, yeah, just find me there, and the Twitter's at LeeCamp.
Sweet. Go to GrahamElwood.com to get all my stuff. Political Vigilante. I got Political Vigilante merchandise. Ron Placona and I are putting together tour dates for September and October. We're going to start releasing probably by the end of June, beginning of July, some actual ticket links, and we're going to find a couple of Government Secrets live in there. We got to work on that. Maybe Lee will talk this weekend about specific dates and venues and stuff like that to lock that down. So Ron and I will be announcing tour dates, and we will be announcing Government Secret live shows, just a couple of them probably on the East Coast. So go to GrahamElwood.com.
All right, man. Have a great week.
All right, Government Secrets, bitch.
Government secrets, bitch. Later.